Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. Sorry, I'm just making some notes as I'm coming on because I'm listening to Sky News. Gosh, I wasn't going to do any lives today, and now I've ended up doing two lives. But I think after I'd done the live earlier on today, talking about the submarine, and then when this news came out, that the debris had been found, and it's going to be a press conference in about 5 minutes. I thought, well, really, I've just got to do another live, and I wanted to. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Charlie. Hi, Shelley. I just wanted to come on and let me just turn that off for a minute. Let me see. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at Sky News. Then you can't see it. Hi, Princess Tippy Toes. Yes. Hi, Chumba. This is all the news. Hi, Lara. There's going to. Sorry, I'm sort of half listening to. Let me just put it on mute for now. Okay, so I'm sort of half listening to Sky News. I'm going to put the Sky News window on. And then as soon as the press conference starts, I will put the sound up. So you can see it. Should be able to see me in the corner. Hi, David. Yes, there have been developments, Charlie. So there's been debris found. And now if you look at the screen at the moment, these are the people that were on the actual submersive. So, this young lad here, he was only 19 years old. He was a student at Strathclyde University and his dad took him on this trip. So basically what's happened is, hi David, there's been debris found. Now, you know what, I mean, if you were here earlier and we were talking, if you heard me talking, they sent this thing down today that actually goes right down to the bottom of the sea and goes along the bottom of the sea. I don't understand why it's taken them so long to put this thing down there. That should have been the first thing that they put down there, surely. Anyway, so apparently what happened, let me just give you an update on the actual trip itself. It's normally an 8-hour trip. 2 hours going down, 2 hours coming back up, and then maybe 3 hours actually, looking around the Titanic. But as I was saying earlier, I don't understand why you'd feel like you had to go down there to look at it, because when you get down to the bottom, you're only looking at it on monitors. So it's not really any different from watching it virtually, on the virtual tour that you can find on the internet. But anyway, people want to do it. They've got spare money, as we were talking about, and it's something they want to do. So they don't see the danger of it. To me, I thought it was dangerous right from the start. Do you know, Shelley, it's so sad. It is. There's a lot of things that break our hearts, aren't they? At the end of the day, things happen. This is very, very sad. And I think why this is also especially sad is because it feels like, we'll see when what we'll do is we'll watch the press conference, then we'll talk about that, and we'll look at these things that this guy is saying now, the things that I've been listening to earlier. Is what they've got to establish is apparently there is an abort mechanism, whereas as the what will we call it, the vessel, if it's in difficulty, it can shed parts of its mechanics, and that makes it lighter so that it will pop up to the surface. So what they've got to establish, Charlie, they won't find anyone. It seems like probably there's nobody to find. But anyway, they can, so it can shed these parts of its mechanism, so it makes it lighter. Oh, right. I'm going. Let's see. Are we going into the press conference now? Let's see.
An input, including
right. We'll listen to this now
in the form of Lieutenant Commander Richard Cantabria. Let's now listen to the news conference.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and over the past few days. This afternoon, Rear Admiral John Mauger will be providing an update on the most recent findings from ROV operations in search of the Titan submersible. He will provide a brief statement and provide the opportunity for questions after. Please limit your questions to one per outlet. Following the briefing, the Joint Information Center staff and I will be here to help you with any of your further needs. May I now please introduce Rear Admiral John Mauger.
This morning, an ROV, or remote operated vehicle, from the vessel Horizon Arctic discovered the tail cone of the Titan submersible approximately 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic on the seafloor. The ROV subsequently found additional debris. In consultation with experts from within the Unified Command, the debris is consistent with the catastrophic loss of the pressure chamber. Upon this determination, we immediately notified the families. On behalf of the United States Coast Guard and the entire Unified Command, I offer my deepest condolences to the families. I can only imagine what this has been like for them, and I hope that this discovery provides some solace during this difficult time. Additionally, we've been in close contact with the British and French consuls general to ensure that they are fully apprised and that their concerns are being addressed. The outpouring of support in this highly complex search operation has been robust and immensely appreciated. We are grateful for the rapid mobilization of experts on the undersea search and rescue, and we thank all of the agencies and personnel for their role in the response. We're also incredibly grateful for the full spectrum of international assistance that's been provided. The ROVs will remain on scene and continue to gather information. Again, our most heartfelt condolences go out to the loved ones of the crew. We'll now take questions.
John, what other debris have you found? John, what other debris have you
Can
found?
you talk about the delay in reporting the vessel missing and what impact that had on the recovery?
This was a incredibly complex case, and we're still working to develop the details for the timeline involved with this casualty and the response. And so we'll provide
James Matthews from Sky News. John, what other debris have you found? And found any trace of those who were on board?
So this is an incredibly complex operating environment on the seafloor, over 2 miles beneath the surface. And so the remote operating vehicle has been searching, and it is highly capable. And we've been able to classify parts of the pressure chamber for the Titan submersible. Let me refer to one of my undersea experts here, Mr. Paul Hankin, to talk about the nature of some of the debris.
Thank you, Admiral. So essentially, we found 5 different major pieces of debris that told us that it was the remains of the Titan. The initial thing we found was the nose cone, which was outside of the pressure hull. We then found a large debris field. Within that large debris field, we found the front end bell of the pressure hull. That was the first indication that there was a catastrophic event. Shortly thereafter, we found a second smaller debris field. Within that debris field, we found the other end of the pressure hull, the aft end bell, which was basically comprised of the totality of that pressure vessel. We continue to map the debris field, and as the Admiral said, we will do the best we can to fully map out what's down there.
Admiral, if I may.
Admiral, is there?
Admiral, if I may.
Thank you very much. It's a very difficult question to ask, but it will be an important one for the families, of course. What are the prospects of recovery of the bodies of this?
So the questions was related. I'm restating the question from the standpoint of sometimes it's hard to hear the question here. What are the prospects for recovering crew members? And so this is a incredibly unforgiving environment down there on the seafloor. And the debris is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. And so we'll continue to work and continue to search the area down there, but I don't have an answer for prospects at this time.
Admiral, it's Tom Costello at NBC News. Is there any suggestion, any suggestion at all that the sub itself collided with the wreckage of Titanic, or that instead it might have imploded above the wreckage and then rained down nearby?
So the question was, is there any question as to whether or not the sub collided with the Titanic or whether it imploded above and debris field created from that? So the location of the Titan submersible was in an area that was approximately 1,600 feet from the wreck of the Titanic. I have an expert here that is familiar with that area and can talk about the debris field and what the debris field indicates in terms of where the casualty may have occurred.
Rear Admiral, really quickly, can you tell me when that?
Wait, let's get the expert voice, please. Hang on a second. The expert voice is coming up to answer the question.
Thank you, Admiral. So the question is, where does the wreck lie in relation to the Titanic? I didn't hear the Admiral's answer. I think 1,600 feet. Is that correct, Admiral?
Yep, you got it.
So that's off the bow of Titanic. It's in an area where there is not any debris of Titanic. It is a smooth bottom. There, to my knowledge and anything I've seen, there's no Titanic wreckage in that area. And again, 200 plus meters from the bow, and consistent with the location of last communication for an implosion in the water column. And the size of the debris field is consistent with that implosion in the water column.
Thanks.
Well, if I can ask you a question, in terms of the timing here, you say that this was a catastrophic implosion. And I know it's early on, but is it your estimation that this happened right at the moment when they lost contact, an hour and 45 minutes after their descent?
So the question was about the timing of the catastrophic implosion. Right now, it is too early to tell with that. We know that as we've been prosecuting this search over the course of the last 72 hours and beyond, that we've had sonar buoys in the water nearly continuously and have not detected any catastrophic events when those sonar buoys have been in the water. So.
Admiral, can you describe what happens from here, sir, in the next days and weeks in terms of finding any more debris? What happens?
So we will. The question was, what happens from here? What's the next phase? And so right now, again, our thoughts are with the families and making sure that they have an understanding as best as we can provide of what happened and begin to find some closure. In terms of the large process, we're going to continue to investigate the site of the debris field And then I know that there's also a lot of questions about how, why, and when did this happen. And so, those are questions that we will collect as much information as we can on now, while the governments are meeting and discussing, what an investigation of this nature of a casualty might look like. This is something that happened. I'll just remind everybody, this is something that happened in a remote portion of the ocean, with people from several different countries around the world. And so it is a complex case to work through, but I'm confident that those questions will begin to get answered.
Will the Coast Guard lead the investigation, sir?
From the UK. Is there any suggestion that time factors, speed, anything could have prevented this or saved the 5 people on board? Or is this quite simply a catastrophe?
The question was there any suggestion that time factors may have played a role or a consideration in the casualty here? And so the debris field is consistent with a catastrophic implosion of the vessel. Again, while we were prosecuting the search, we had listening devices in the water throughout and did not hear any signs of catastrophic failure from those. And so we're going to continue to investigate, or we're going to continue to document the information there and understand, based on all the information we have, the timeline.
For the investigation, what does it mean for the resources required for the investigation? Which ship will be pulling out and coming in?
So the question was, what are the resources required for the investigation, and which ships will be pulling out and staying in? And so it's too early for me to talk about an investigation. That's a decision that's going to be taken outside of the search and efforts that I was leading. But we do have a number of vessels. We have 9 vessels on the scene right now. We had medical personnel on scene. We had other technicians on scene. And so we will begin to demobilize personnel and vessels from the scene over the course of the next 24 hours. But we're going to continue remote operations on the seafloor. And I don't have a timeline for when we would intend to stop remote operations on the seafloor at this point.
Admiral, as a result of this, do you think there should be changes in the way these are safety rated or inspected so that this won't happen again?
Yeah, the question was essentially about, do you think that there should be changes in safety ratings or inspection for these standards? I know that there's a lot of questions about why, how, when this happened, and the members of the Unified Command, have those questions too, as professionals and experts that work in this environment. And this is an incredibly difficult and dangerous environment to work in out there. But those questions about the regulations that apply and the standards, that's going to be, I'm sure, focus of future review. Right now, we're focused on documenting the scene and continuing the subfloor.
I know we don't know the timing here. We don't know the timing here, but there was the banging noises yesterday that redirected and redeployed the ROVs to this area. Is there anything conclusive in those noises, and did that redirection and then finding this debris field today all help?
So throughout the search efforts, we reacted to the information that we had available to us. And while we continue to send it off for deeper analysis, again, really complex operating environment for us to work in. let me check with the experts, but there doesn't appear to be any connection between the noises and the location on the seafloor. Again, this was a catastrophic implosion of the vessel, which would have generated a significant broadband sound down there that the sonar buoys would have picked up.
Admiral, a lot of questions about who might be.
Admiral, you mentioned closure for the families. Admiral, can I just ask you about your comment regarding the families?
And also, were all of the assets involved moved as swiftly as possible to the area? Was any help turned away, as some lawmakers have criticized the government?
This was a incredibly complex operation, and we were able to mobilize an immense amount of gear to the site in just a really remarkable amount of time, given the fact that we started without any sort of vessel response plan for this or any sort of pre-stage resources. And so the equipment that was brought on site this morning that we were using was a pelagic ROV capable of operating at 6,000 meters, cameras, sonar, other articulating arms and resources on it. And it, we had to transport it here through C-17 aircraft. This is 2 aircraft that it took to get this up here. And so we've really had the right gear on site and worked as swiftly as possible to bring all of the capabilities that we had to bear to this search and rescue effort. And it was just a huge international and interagency effort to make this happen. So I'm really grateful for all of the responders that came out to support this and really search for the vessel. It is a difficult day for all of us. And it's especially difficult for the families, and our thoughts are with the families today. But this was an immense support, and we had the right gear on the bottom to find it. So thank you.
Admiral, you mentioned Admiral.
Will you attempt to recover the bodies, can we ask you, though? The victims, will they be recovered?
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this afternoon. There are no future planned press conferences.
Okay, so, oh, hang on, what am I doing? Okay, so, gosh, that was traumatic, wasn't it? Gosh, so basically, it feels like he was saying, I mean, it sounds like it was either an explosion, wasn't it? It was either an explosion or sort of some sort of system failure. So it's either exploded because, well, he said implosion, and implosion suggests it's something to do with the vessel itself, doesn't it? But basically, they don't know yet. I mean, anything that they're saying now, they're basically all they know is they found enough debris to know that no one's likely to be alive. You know, that's basically all they know. They don't know what's happened. From what he was saying there, it seems like because as the vessel went down, they lost contact with it. It was 1 hour and 25 minutes after it had gone down that they lost contact with it. It's a 2-hour trip down. That's what I was starting to explain earlier. When people go to see the Titanic, it's generally an 8-hour trip. 2 hours going down, 2 hours coming back up, and then whatever in between they spend looking at the Titanic. So yeah, now he referred to it as an implosion. the debris that they found, because at first when they found debris, they weren't sure, would it be, there is a defense mechanism on the vessel that if it gets into trouble, they can eject parts of the equipment, if you like, to make it lighter so it'll pop up to the surface. And at first, the very first thing they found, that could have been one of those things that was actually voluntarily removed from the vessel. But now what he actually said there was that they had found the nose cone of the vessel. And once they found the nose cone, they knew that it wasn't, it couldn't be, you know, you can't eject the nose cone. Once the nose cone is off the vessel is exploded, imploded, whichever way you want to talk about it. So at the end of the day, the vessel has just disintegrated, hasn't it? For whatever reason. What they've got to do now is try and decide what was the reason. Now, it could have been a bomb, couldn't it? Could there have been a bomb planted on it? Or is what's probably more likely, because this guy who, you know, we were seeing earlier on the video earlier, is a libertarian who doesn't believe in regulations. It's dangerous getting out of bed, never mind, you know, going down and doing something like this. Well, we all know, yes, you get out of bed in the morning, you could trip over and, you know, bang your head and die or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's got to be more dangerous going down in a submersive to look at the Titanic. And what he was also saying is the debris was found 200 meters from the bow of the Titanic. So it doesn't seem like it crashed into the Titanic or anything like that. Basically what he was saying is that an hour and 25 minutes after it started its descent to where the Titanic is, it exploded, imploded, whichever way you want to call it, and this debris has just sunk down he said it was found on the flat seabed. It wasn't found in the Titanic, it was found 200 meters from the bow of the Titanic. So, you know, that's what they've got to discover is, was it an explosion or was it because it wasn't safe and it's imploded? In other words, it's just not been able. Now, earlier, before the press conference, I was watching Sky News and they were talking to some experts about it. And they were saying that it is possible that, because it's 2 years old, this vessel. It's 2 years old. It's been taking people down to see the Titanic for 2 years. So it's not the first trip. And I've been watching off and on today. They were talking to people who'd made the trip before, but there were people. Trouble is, they're expressing concerns now, but did they express concerns at the time? I don't know. But they were saying, you know, at the end of the day, these things, they degrade, don't they? You know, it has happened with planes. Like, do you remember, well, the Concorde was one, the jumbo jets and things like that. When there's an accident, as they get older, you know, and there have been accidents, and we learn safety tips from accidents. And it's weird because earlier when I was doing the video and I was saying about what my son has said, they were actually saying that on Sky News, that a lot of safety regulations result from accidents. You know, that's how we learn. That's how we learn to make things safer, by things that go wrong that we're not expecting. So yeah, it could have degraded that vessel over the 2 years that it's been used. It could have degraded, and then that, unfortunately for those people that were in it on that day, that was the day that it just couldn't take it anymore. Yeah, Heather is right. They had to sign a disclaimer. Anyone who because it's not the only one. There's, you know, they're saying now, you know, should call for all Titanic trips to be cancelled. I didn't even know there were that many trips down to see the Titanic, but apparently there's loads. That was just one of them. It's not the only. You know, it's like there's loads of flight companies. You've got your Ryanair and your, oh God, well, there's more than you can even mention, isn't there? You know, so people go on all different types of trips. But I suppose if there was an accident on any airline, any other airline that had that same model of plane would have to probably ground the planes, look at them. So I'm presuming that they will cancel, or, well, I wouldn't want it. I never would have wanted to go on it in the first place. But imagine if you had a trip booked, you know, just about maybe tomorrow you were due to go down and look at the Titanic. Would you go? Or, you know, or because some people, they do like that thrill. They do like, some people do sort of get off on the thrill, the danger, and they wouldn't do it unless they thought it might be a little bit dangerous. But yes, Heather, you don't see, you know, don't read about them every day, do you? And, you know, Charlie, right, you can't escape from the inside. No, I was saying that earlier in the video that I did. You cannot get out. There is no escape hatch. So if it hadn't actually exploded, but it had popped up to the top, if they'd managed to pop it up to the top, they still couldn't have got out of it. They couldn't have got out of it until somebody came and unlocked all the different locks on it. They're bolted in. Yeah, they're bolted in, and they wouldn't have been able to get out. So they still would have been in the race against time as far as the oxygen was concerned, because somebody would have had to get there to let them out. But anyway, that's not what happened. The only, it's not solace, I don't know. It would have been quick. They probably wouldn't have even known, you know, I would imagine it was an instant thing, like 1 minute everything was okay and then the next minute it happened. That's probably not quite as awful as thinking of them as gradually sort of suffocating to death, which is what I was personally having nightmares about, the thought of being in there and not being able to get out, but just gradually your air going. That's even worse. But obviously the best thing would have been they just did their trip, got down, came back up, like it's happened probably thousands of times, and there's not been any incident. But yeah, some of the people that were talking on Sky News, that were being interviewed on Sky News that had been on it before, they were saying that there were issues. So they're calling into question the general safety of this thing. And they had to sign the disclaimer before they got in it. It's like if you have an operation, isn't it, or anything like that, you have to sign the disclaimer so that they don't get sued. But I've got to say, I wasn't sort of expecting, I don't know what I was expecting really. When this story, like somebody said, why is it such big news? But I think it's just because it's the Titanic, isn't it? Going down to see the Titanic. I think everybody can imagine how awful that would feel to be stuck in that thing. Sometimes things just capture the news attention more than others, and who knows what decides it. But this has, I think it's to do with the Titanic. If they would have been going, you know, it's like the whole thing, and then someone who was on it is related to someone who died on the Titanic. So there's all these sort of stories going off it. Now let's see, what else did I write down, because I wanted to. Oh, that's right. He actually said, the guy there, John Mauger, he said the tail cone was found 1,600 feet from the bow of the Titanic. And they then found additional debris, and it's led them to believe that it's a catastrophic loss in the pressure chamber. So in other words, what he's saying is it's exploded, imploded, whichever way you want to put it. It's disintegrated. So it would have been quick. That's the only saving grace, I suppose. He said, I think they must have known about this for all day. And he was saying that their first thought obviously was with the families, to contact the families. even though that stepson had gone off to that concert. I mean, I still could have thought about that a lot, and I thought, I can't get over that. I can't believe he went off to a concert and while his stepdad was missing. But anyway, there you go. We all deal with things in different ways, don't they? Yeah, so did it this will be the next thing they'll be trying to establish. Has it hi Marie, has it disintegrated of its own accord just because, you know, it's 2 years old, or is it has it been an explosion? And we were talking about earlier, weren't we, like, is it possible that it was you know, some sort of sabotage, or because there's very rich people on there, you know, people that, you know, some other types of people might want to do something to. I don't know, but so Shelley, all the news channels around where it happened have been keeping you updated. Yeah. Well, this is the first. I mean, they've been talking about it a lot on the news today, but this press conference obviously was the first thing. When I saw that there was going to be a press conference, I thought, oh, I'd like to watch that along with you, because we'd all been talking about it, and then we can talk about it afterwards. Now, sometimes these things take over the news, aren't they? I think one person who will have been happy today, of course, will have been in the UK anyway, Rishi Sunak, because, you know, the big news in the UK today actually was the interest rates going up. But of course, that's been sort of swallowed up a bit by this news. It just fascinates me. What fascinates me more than anything, and what this is why people with so much money decide to do things like this, and why the guy, the businessman that took his 19-year-old son with him, you know, it's like they're just you know, like you might take your child to, you know, Alton Towers or Centre Parks, or, you know, the Disney Resort or whatever. This is what millionaires and billionaires do. They take their children down to look at the wreck of the Titanic. And, you know, Heather, you're right. I think the Titanic is cursed. And I think that's why it's attracted so much. And Princess Tippy told you agree. This is why I think it's because it's to do with the Titanic, isn't it? The Titanic is and not, you know, all over the world. It's one of those things that all over the world it's captured people's attention, because there were people of all nationalities, weren't there, on there, and it's just like one of those. You know, it was built in Ireland, I think, wasn't it? Did it sail from Ireland, or did it sail from Liverpool? There were Americans on it. You know, it's sort of everybody knows about the Titanic. It's just one of those things that is famous worldwide. There's probably nowhere you would go and you mention the Titanic and they didn't know what it was. So I think that's made it so such big news as well, hasn't it? Just the fact that it's to do with the Titanic. But let me just take that off. So yes, unfortunately, that's what's happened. We don't know what's happened exactly. All we know is that unfortunately it looked, you know, and he did look devastated, the guy. I mean, it must be difficult for them. They've had to tell the families. It's not a pleasant thing to do, is it, to relate that news? And I still don't. I just feel like it's been a week nearly. Why wasn't that thing sent down immediately? You know, Heather, don't worry. Anyway, so gosh, it feels like a Friday night to me because I'm on live. I wasn't supposed to be on live at all today, and I've done 2 lives. We had, you know, I just thought I've got to come on and cover this news conference. It's very sad. It's very sad. Okay, so I'm going to love you and leave you now because. Oh, Heather, I've been to the exhibition, the Titanic exhibition. It is very sad. And do you remember when you got to the end of it, what impressed me the most, or what left a lasting impression on me, was when you get to the end of the exhibition where you see all the artifacts, etc. And then at the end, you're sat in that big room with all the names of everybody who died around you, and all those names. It just hits you when you see all the names written around the walls. It just hits you how many people actually did die. And of course, most of them were poor people, because they were the people from downstairs on the ship. You know, so yeah. So Shelley, is that the Atlantic Ocean then? That's the Atlantic Ocean all the way over there as well. So I always think of the Atlantic Ocean being closer to home. I mean, not to where I live now, not to Spain, but you know, my geography is absolutely rubbish. The Atlantic Ocean, when I was in Portugal last week, that's the Atlantic. So the Atlantic, isn't Britain the Atlantic Ocean as well? Oh, I don't know. Not very good with oceans. Okay, so I'm going. I will be back tomorrow night. I will be doing a live tomorrow night. I'm not quite sure what I'll be talking about. Maybe something to do with Nicola Bulley, because of course now we've still only got 4 more sunrises before the inquest, and hopefully we get some information. But look, thank you so much for being with me to watch the press conference. Have a fantastic evening, and remember to always live and love very carefully. And as always, may your God go with you. Bye.